I was raised on raw milk from day one. And I've been very healthy. I'll be 72 very shortly, and I've had good years. As a bricklayer, I should have worn out my body, but through having my own garden, raising my own beef, and drinking raw milk, about 5 years out of my life, I was not able to get raw milk. I lived in Europe for a year and worked on farms over there, drank raw milk over there too. And like the chef said, I worked in a restaurant and got to know the chefs there. My taste had changed from rural farm food to international food, and now I love to cook. I cook anything from brains to, I mean, if it can be cooked, I'll try to cook it. But the nutritional things that happen, I don't, over a period of years, I've watched insecticides come and go. First it was DDT. Okay, that was back during World War II and right after. It got rid of a lot of mosquitoes and fleas and bed bugs. And for that we're thankful, but it wasn't good for us. And so they replaced that with chloridane, said this is the new thing. Well, pretty soon they pulled that. That lasted about 2 or 3 years, and they pulled that off the market. She said, "Now that's deadly." And then it was lindane, and there was all these phosphated chemicals, and yeah, this is the answer, malathion, I don't care what it was. The companies have never failed to misrepresent their product. I won't say they flat out lied, but yeah. Okay. Right. Then the last one was diazinon, and they even had it to kill your crane flies on your lawn. You were supposed to put diazinon out there. And about 5 years later, they said, "Oh, don't do that anymore. It's harmful to the nervous system of your children." Oh. They tested K through 4 children, 1,000 samples, 80% had pesticide residue in their urine. Okay, now did those Food and Drug Administrators go to Safeway, take a sample of Mexican lettuce, and say, "Oops, there's pesticide here, let's shut the whole store down"? No. No, that's not likely to happen. I resent that. That's why I have grown my own garden. I have a garden bigger than this room every year. And I haul 2 loads of cow manure on it, and I put dolomite lime, and I try to get seaweed out in the ocean if I can. You get a clam license, you can also get seaweed. And compost that, and I try to be as organic as possible. Some fertilizers are hard to get organically, or potassiums. You can, if you get an access to bat guano, I suppose you can get potassium, but kind of hard to find. But I've always tried to be organic, and I raised my kids that way. My son drank raw milk from the time he was 6 months old, and he ran a fever once before he was in the 1st grade. Okay, raw milk has 80% of the antibodies of mother's breast milk. So it has all these protections built into it. Pasteurized milk has none. Hi guys.
Slippery.
There's so much fun out at the farm. I went out and watched them the other day. They have them on one side of the fence, and then they turn them into the mothers. Well, the little kids, they don't care which mother is whose, but the mothers care. Yeah. That's the mother. Not you, not you, not you. Okay, you. They are cute. Anyway, that's kind of some of the history of the farming and what happened. The Department of Ecology had a lot to do with shutting down a lot of dairy farms. one very good dairy farmer, had done everything they told him, and then all of a sudden they said, well, your barn is within 200 feet of a creek. You're out of business. No recourse. I mean, a very good dairy farmer. I mean, it was a commercial operation, but still, that is the power that the government is wielding at this point. And it's too bad, in the old days, when there were 540 farms, every cow had access to every stream in the 40s, and the salmon were coming up 90 miles an hour. And they eliminated all the dairy farms up the Hump Tulips, no increase in salmon. They eliminated them up the Wishkah, no increase in salmon. The Wainuchi, I don't think the Estrellas are about the only people milking cows up there now, isn't that right? But the salmon have not increased up there. I think when people go to college, they learn things from a professor who has a lot of influence by just not saying some things. In other words, this is my point of view, or this is what happened, and I just won't tell you about this or that or the other thing. All of Grays Harbor, well, from, you know where the Capitol Forest is? In 1908, that entire forest burned, okay? The longest forest fire went from PL almost to Shelton, and nothing ever came back until after World War II. So for 40 years, it got its name the Black Hills because it was black. It was a huge big fern patch. It looked like eastern Washington with ferns instead of sagebrush. And the state started planting the state lands, which is the Black Hills. Simpson started planting the north from McClary, and Weyerhaeuser started planting from Elma south. All that land had been vacant. I mean, just no trees. You could walk up there and see forever. When it came back, the alder was growing up in it, and the forest companies went to, or Dow Chemical went to the forest companies, put it that way, and said, we've got this stuff called weedone, and you can kill the alder and let your fir trees that you spent so much money on, getting them growing, that'll release them to grow. So Weyerhaeuser sprayed, the state sprayed, the city of Montesano has 5,000 acres. They sprayed, everybody sprayed. Rainier Timber Company, Port Lake, they all sprayed. Vietnam came along, and Dow Chemical went to the Army and says, hey, we got this stuff that worked really good in Washington. We'll mix some orange color in it. I'm sorry, they drenched Western Washington in Agent Orange, only it wasn't Agent Orange, it was called weedone. It caused cancer in Vietnam. Here we are. We've spent millions researching cancer, and they doubled our chance of getting it. Something's wrong. Like I said, the chemical companies have a big profit incentive, and they never fail to lie about the safety of their product. Any questions?
Where did you learn all that? Because you're a wealth of information.
Well, I tried to stay awake. I still get farm magazines. Oh, here's a great one. Dairy cows produce 40% of the methane in our atmosphere. Big problem. Oregano, if fed at 1 pound per day, they just released the information last month. If fed 1 pound per day, will cut methane production in a dairy cow by 40%. And if fed 2 ounces a day to a pig, will eliminate the need for antibiotics because it makes their stomach lining stronger. That's oregano. I mean, and so you know what the chemical company's answer is? Well, it costs too much to grow. We'll learn to synthesize it.
Yeah.
Here we go again. So anyway, Any more questions?
What are the farmers doing about the alfalfa now that, on the problem with the GMO alfalfa?
Okay, the GMO things are produced primarily by Monsanto so that they can spray with Roundup, glyphosate. And you see all these cornfields and there's not a weed in them? They've sprayed at least 3 times. Well, Monsanto said the glyphosate breaks down in sunlight, blah, 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 and is harmless. And they tested it without the 11% inert ingredients. What are those inert ingredients? They are the chemicals. You're gonna mow the lawn, do you? Anyway, they are the chemicals that break the cell tissue apart so that the glyphosate can penetrate into the cell wall and kill the plant, the weeds. When they tested it without that. But that's the way it is applied. When they test something, they should test it the way it is being used, not the way the Monsanto manipulated the study. I can manipulate a study to prove any point I want to prove. Sitting in the first 3 rows of a strip joint causes baldness. I mean, the research is a blast. But anyway.
Ron, thank you so much. I've mispronounced your name.